Prime Minister Narendra Modi's two-day US visit, an extremely important visit in which the Prime Minister will be meeting US President Donald Trump. He was welcomed by the Indian diaspora, and remember, this is all about the chemistry between the two leaders. Prime Minister Modi will also be meeting Tesla founder Elon Musk, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, and Republican leader Vivek Ramaswamy. The visit keenly watched back home, both for the optics and the substance for the road ahead on the various geopolitical, strategic, economic issues, including from the tech and startup ecosystem. Well, joining me now live from Washington, D.C., Jessica Stone from the Voice of America. Jessica, give us a sense of the mood and significance of this visit from the Washington point of view and the key focus areas for the Trump administration.
Yeah, so this has really been a hastily thrown together visit by Prime Minister Modi. He is the fourth world leader to visit the White House in the first month of the Trump presidency. And that speaks highly of the importance of the U.S.-India relationship on both the trade and security fronts. Of course, for Washington, the one key factor here is the trade deficit. It's about $46 billion, it's more than doubled since the last time Trump was in the White House. And so with the announcement this morning that he put out on Truth Social of reciprocal tariffs, expect that to be a key agenda item for Washington. We know that President Trump has already asked Prime Minister Modi to purchase more defense equipment. And we saw that just 2 years ago when Prime Minister Modi was here for the state visit, there were announcements around nuclear cooperation, around making jet engines in India with General Electric, as well as purchasing drones. We also expect immigration to be a top focus during these meetings. Of course, President Trump has made this a key focus of his administration, closing the southern border, repatriating illegal immigrants. And we know that India, even before President Trump took office, offered to repatriate illegal Indian immigrants and has already accepted 100 back on the ground there in India in just the last few days. So a very packed agenda. The mood here expected, but we can tell from the way that this was announced that the Indians in particular wanted this to be focused on the personal relationship between Trump and Modi, which of course goes back many years.
Right.
They've supported each other in populist politics. And that is the focus for New Delhi, we believe, of these meetings, to really rekindle that relationship, make sure that it continues to be strong, and that Prime Minister Modi can speak honestly and forcefully in his private meetings with President Trump about the needs of India and the desires of India to work with the United States.
Well, lovely mat of snow behind you there, Jessica. Hopefully the cold won't affect the chemistry between the two leaders there. But what in terms of outcome? Because the optics of deportation and tariffs is one key concern area that's being watched very closely by observers.
Yes, and I think it's bigger for the domestic audience, quite frankly, in India than it is for Americans. The focus of a lot of the immigration policy here in the United States has to do with the southern border, with the drug crisis, and with Latin American immigrants. I think most Americans don't really realize that Indians make up a significant portion of illegal immigration into the United States. The second biggest group behind Latin Americans. And so that is something that most Americans are not really aware of. They're much more aware of the high-skilled Indian immigrants that come through the H-1B visa process, which, of course, India has continued to push for those caps to be increased. We don't think that that will happen. We're seeing lots of layoffs in the IT sector here with Meta's layoffs of 5% of their workforce just in recent days. And so there are plenty of available American engineers to go to these jobs. And so
Right.
It's most likely that the United States is not going to increase the H-1B visa cap.
Right. Thanks very much there, Jessica Stone, reporting from Washington, D.C. I also have with me a very noted venture capital investor here from Bengaluru, Naganand Doreswamy, who's a close U.S. observer. Thanks very much, Nag, for speaking to us. In terms of optics, of course, it's been a while since Trump took over. What would you be looking at as key markers from this visit by Prime Minister Modi?
So thanks, Veer, for having me. I think from a startup perspective and from a tech perspective, if you were to ask me, I think startups are reasonably insulated, except for the immigration issue that was brought up earlier also, because the capital flow from the US to India will come, and then ability to raise capital for the startups. I don't foresee any issues there. tech, we all, in terms of technology transfer between the US and India, I think we have a clear path right now because there's a good collaboration and cooperation between US and India. Of course, NVIDIA chips is a prime commodity anywhere else in the world. And when you try to access it, there might be some issues around it. But I don't see any large issues around tech. And software-wise, tariffs will not have any big impact. But in India, when you start developing deep tech products, hardware, and you start to export them, one needs to see if tariffs will start affecting products, but minimal, I would say. So overall, outside of immigration, from a startup perspective, I would say, the impact on any policies from US will be not that big because I don't foresee any large changes happening. But outside of that, I think, at a macro level in terms of tariffs and what conversations Prime Minister Modi and President Trump will have in terms of the trade between the two countries, I think that's a big issue. I think we need to figure out how the conversations go and what comes out of it.
Right, interesting that you say that. Very briefly, Nag, more about the optics that comes out of it rather than the substance of it. That would be the focus at the moment?
Yes, I think so. I think at least from the world I come in, the startup world, that is the case. But in larger industries, like, you saw steel tariffs going up and I think those will have a much larger impact than what startups would see.
Right. Interesting that you say that because much has been spoken about the chemistry between the two leaders and one would look for that kind of messaging as well coming out keenly. Thanks very much there, Naganand Doreswamy from Idea Spring Venture Capital Firm from Bengaluru for joining us here on The Southern View. That's all we have time for on The Southern View this evening. News and updates continue right here on NDTV. Thanks for watching.